Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and in this video we shall discuss the featured news for 28th March 2022. Today's featured news is on a very interesting topic, women in Indian judiciary. And I welcome all of you here, Ashish, Amlan, Netra, Hema, Preeti, Bhavani, Pooja, Kim, all of you to participate in this discussion. Questions are most welcome. People viewing online, most welcome to join and ask questions. Ashish, you have a question? There is no video for today's Gazette in the playlist. Are you speaking of the YouTube playlist? Please clarify. So let's begin this. And Pooja, I hope your question was answered. Also, Amlan, you had a question. I remember you had posed a question on the theme of Turkey. So Turkey as a NATO country, what about its S-400? When it purchased S-400, it was under sanctions by USA. No doubting that fact, right? So despite of being a NATO country, Turkey purchased S-400 and then it was placed under sanctions by USA. But these sanctions were not as strong as what USA has put on countries like Iran, countries like China, countries like North Korea, and now a country like Russia, right? Here the sanctions are only specifically against those people who are operating using these entities, not Erdogan, not specifically, but then those military officials, right, who are part of the S-400, right, and the whole defense agencies, right. So this is the sanction against Turkey. Let's begin. All right. Women in judiciary working towards a legal system reflective of the society. Chief Justice of India, C.V. Ramana. Time and again he has spoken of equality or even better status than equality for women in judiciary. I am not sure if you have seen this in articles, but I have seen this multiple times. Every platform he goes, he would speak about greater participation of women in Indian judicial system. In this regard, let us understand what has been the actual participation of females in Indian judiciary as of now, as the people holding power. And before that, let me talk of a couple of cases which show the present level of depth and understanding of Indian judiciary from the perspective of people who are in power. One of the cases in judiciary was such only lately that in Madhya Pradesh, an offender, a convict, and a person who was a victim. The victim and offender, they were in the court room, and the judge had ordered the accused to get a rakhi tied, right, on their hands so that they would not commit sexual offenses or sexual assaults later on. This depicts the kind of apathy, the kind of lesser understanding the judge possibly has in a situation like this, a sensitive situation like this. A person has been accused of sexual assault, of committing a crime of sexual nature, and then tying a rakhi. Will that make things better? Will it ensure the person doesn't commit the crime against that same person or somebody else later? No. This also makes the society even more far insensitive towards the person who was a victim. Not only this case, I'd like to read out some statements from another case of previous times, and this was a part of Karnataka High Court judgment. I'm speaking of High Court judgments. The rapist was granted bail on the grounds that after rape behavior of the victim is not how a rape victim ideally behaves, keeping in view of the traditional principles of India. All right. So this clearly demonstrates that if we have lesser number of female judges who are able to administer these cases, sensitive cases against, for preservation of female rights, this would be far more understood and taken as justice. We do not know what is the after rape behavior of a victim, especially a male person would not be able to understand. In this light, let us understand what are the various challenges faced. The first challenge faced is the representation itself. Hello, Gopal. Okay, let's begin then. So, what is the level of challenge that is faced? In Supreme Court itself, right now it has maximum number of judges ever present in the court, Supreme Court. The maximum number of judges that could be present in Supreme Court is 34. And out of 34 judges, the maximum number that has been present for females is 4, and that is right now itself. Only because a couple of 2-3 names were cleared only lately. So that is the reason that we have 4 female judges. Otherwise, for a lot of time, we have had only 1 or 2 judges. It was only in 1992 that the first female judge was a part of the Supreme Court. And I'm speaking of a court which got formed in the year 1950, right? It took 42 years for a country with equality to have 1 judge amongst around 30 judges. That time the number of Supreme Court judges were less, but then right now 34, and on that 34 only 4 judges. And if you look at the High Court representation, it is another dismal, around 1100 High Court judges, and we have presence of less than 100 judges who are female. Of course, around 300 to 400 seats are vacant. That's absolutely true. 100, less than 100, around 80 to 90 judges are females. So around 10% representation in the higher court judiciary, that is Supreme Court and High Court. This is first thing for you to know. When you speak of lower courts, the representation is slightly better than the higher courts. The representation is around 25 to 30%, right? 25 to 30%. So out of around 16,000 lower court judges, 4,000 judges were women, lower court judges, district court and below them, right? The reason here is very clear. The selection of judges for representation in various courts, this is happening through a competitive examination, right? Competitive examination of the union or of the states, and that is the reason that we have more number of females getting selected. It is a rational examination that is taking place. But in the case of the higher judiciary, the judges in Supreme Court or the judges in the high courts, the appointments are done on a different basis, right? Qualification, the collegium system, and they are opaque, they are not transparent, and this is the reason that fewer number of women are getting through. This is what has been in the public space, right? I'm just merely putting an opinion that is there in the public space. When you look at the number of females who are a part of judiciary as senior advocates in Supreme Court or high courts, the number again is very less. In Supreme Court, the percentage of or the number of senior lawyers is only 17 out of 403 male lawyers. Out of 400 plus, only 17 were the senior lawyers. And the thing is, the issue here is that many of these lawyers only get further appointed as the judges in the Supreme Court because of their expertise, because of their name and fame. So when the number of senior lawyers are few, then the judges of course will be few, right? So this is another reason here, right? So when we speak of judges being participants in High Court or Supreme Court, an eminent jurist can become a judge in Supreme Court, and those other judges who have practiced in High Court for several number of years, they can be promoted to Supreme Court. That's absolutely true, right? By the President of India through collegium system. For High Court judges, if for a district court judges to be initiated, there has to be 7 years of practice. 7 years of practice as a lower court judge. 7 years of practice, and the court itself has called it 7 years of continuous practice. Now, for a female who is handling their professional life or their family life, if they have a child to take care of, there could be some break in career, and this is where the interpretation stands against the female for being made a judge in the district court. And a number of people who are number of judges in the High Court, they also pass into High Court from district court on the basis of their promotion. These promotions wouldn't happen to these people, right? Because the sufficient number of district court judges only will not be present on lieu of 7 years of practice, right? And 10 years of another practice is required to become a judge later on. And when you speak of collegium system itself is opaque. We do not understand why women are not there as a participant in the system, right? So senior advocates, judges, women are not there. But when you speak of the girl students who are a part of the law entrance examination, there is a decent proportion. 40+% of students who clear the law examination are women, 40 to 45%. So why do they not select the judiciary or being a judge as their career? That is another question to raise, right? Then we have other things to share here. For example, the Chief Justice themselves have pointed out some other level of opacity at the High Court level. So the central government is the one which ensures that the appointment happens after the collegium has referred the names. So only 19 of the 37 names that were passed for High Court appointment, these are all for females. All for females. 37 female names were passed, but then only 19 were given the appointment, rest were held by the central government. So there is a special level of consideration at the level of central government, and that is also refraining from participation of women. See, multiple checks which are withholding the participation of women in the judiciary. When you speak of the state, the Bar Council of India, no representation of women at all. State Bar Council, only 2% representation. That also because people are, elected. Only 2% of the elected represented in the state bar councils are women, right? So around out of 1.7 million advocates registered, 15% are females. Only 15%. Are yahi advocate to they become the judges later? No, because advocates for 7 years, right? You become a practicing judge in the district high court. You keep practicing, your record is very good, then you get promoted as a high court judge or later Supreme Court judge, or you become an eminent jurist. The numbers are less, and that is the reason, right? And if you see the number of states, there are only few states which have women participation. Madras High Court has got some participation, right? Then we have Punjab High Court, some decent participation, but Patna, Meghalaya, Manipur, Telangana, Tripura, Uttarakhand, no women judges at all, right? So this is what constitutes an average 11% of female participation in higher judiciary, around 25 to 30% participation in lower judiciary, just because they are able to clear the exams, rational exam, that is why they are able to participate. 15% percentage of advocates in the country who are female, no representation in Bar Council of India. Now you know the status. Hima says, but sir, will just by having women as HC judge will make judiciary sensitive towards rape and sexual harassment cases and point judgment? Okay, no, that's not true. Having only women as the judges will not make it sensitive. But see, if you remember, I had spoken of women as representatives of United Nations peacekeeping. So the argument that is given of women participation in United Nations peacekeeping is that women will be more sensitive to those issues which are women related. Peacekeeping missions are at those places where there is forced displacement of people, where women victims, 75% of victims in these kind of situations, forced displacement or civil wars, are women or children. And women have been considered to be more sensitive towards these issues. So that is the reason that women on the ground will be able to administer better. In a situation like administering justice, is it not true that women also should be in the position of power? Wherever decisions are being made, why only man? Why not women? Why not they being interpreters of the constitution, defenders of the right of humans? Is it not also true that a woman can understand the pain of another woman, the monthly cycle, better than a man can? Just an opinion. So if you consider from those perspectives, possibly women also should have some stake in interpretation of the law or interpretation of the constitution, defending the rights of human beings. Not at all saying that having women will make everything more sensitive. There are other things also. But right now, we are speaking of women. See, in issues like what you are speaking of, objectivity is required. How can there be such level of violation and subjectivity that mere tying Rakhi means the person will be able to respect women? Not at all. Even a woman who has a traditional mindset can pass these kind of judgments, even a woman judge. So this is where we need to give lesser leverage of discretion in cases like this, that bail be granted to the accused just because they can tie Rakhi, right? Okay. Opinions, most welcome, most welcome. So good one, good opinion, Hima. All right. So since this is the percentage of participation of females in judiciary, what are the reasons for this? You see, we have seen the participation. It is dismal. It is not good. But then what are the reasons? Let us understand the reasons. See, one of the reasons is that the support system for women participation is not strong. When they have to work at family, when they have to work at their profession, this is a far more challenging job than a regular 10 to 5 or 9 to 5 job. So when the person has to work cutthroat competition throughout the hour, they need a better familial support system, and which is not being provided by the current current family system. And for that reason, many people drop out of a career like this. They choose litigation instead of becoming a judge or becoming an advocate, right? And merely few number of cases can decide if the person goes up in the hierarchy in advocacy or down the hierarchy. So this requires 24/7 studying. Many people who want to update themselves, and for example, criminal lawyer, all matters to the criminal is that the lawyer is able to save themselves. So they have to read innumerable laws. All matters in a civil case is that the advocate is able to save some tax for that particular institution or person. So the gender won't matter, right? Even if it is female, she would be taken in as an advocate. But then the amount of studies that is required, rigorous career that requires, that does not receive a support system from the family systems. Not only that, the opacity of collegiate system is another question. The third issue is the presence of judicial infrastructure. For example, the courtrooms, they are packed, there are lesser spaces available or private spaces available for females. Are these judicial officers not the ones who can also give care to their children? So what about creche or availability of works, caregiving space for these women? None available. What about female toilets, right? 22%, less than 20, around 22% of the courtrooms do not have toilets. Imagine this, female toilets. So how would they be able to participate here? This discourages female to become a judge. It is as simple as that. 6,000 trial courts do exist, and 22% of courts in the country do not have washroom facilities. Imagine that. I remember having discussed the issue of judicial infrastructure in the country. We discussed judicial infrastructure in updates also, in opinion articles also, editorials also. So the issue with judicial architecture is such that the central government passes, say it was I think 8,000 crore rupees for funds for creation of toilets, creation of entities, separate courtrooms, and more rooms where the judges could discuss with the advocates, or computers, all of them for judicial infrastructure, homes for the judges. But then the money is not effectively utilized. The money is not utilized altogether because it is the central government which is in charge of this money. The court needs to be in charge of this money. This is what is the solution, and this is what has been proposed by the Chief Justice as well, right? So this is the issue of judicial infrastructure, right? There could be bias against females as well. There could be bias, a facial level of bias. Seeing a female as a judge, it might seem to certain people that she would be a little soft, or seeing female as a person who is advocating, it might be a facial level of bias. But experts say that this bias is only superficial. Once known that this person is efficient, there will be no bias any further, right? But initial level of bias does exist. This is what is being said, right? So arbitrariness, opacity, right? All right. Balance and empathic. Yes. This was the point. So having female at the helm will make the courtrooms a little more sensitive, further more sensitive towards the issues, especially which are gender sensitive issues. It will make the court more sensitive, it will make it more inclusive, and there will be a balanced and empathetic approach. I don't know, do people agree that females are more empathetic than males are in general? Because I do personally have a bias that females have more sense of empathy, more sense of tolerance, acceptance in general, and that is one great quality to learn, right? So this is what can make the justice delivery system a little better than what it is. More participation of females. See, I read this at a particular place. It said very clearly, women belong in all places where decisions are being made. Why not in judiciary, right? They bring a different perspective to the law. Women bring a very different perspective to the law, and it makes the law interpreted in a far more wider sense. They bring to the law a different perspective, one that is built upon their experience. They have more nuanced understanding of differing impacts that certain law may have on men and women. One law can have two different impacts, one on males and one on females. The impact on female could be felt more, in a better sense by a female. She will be in a better place to judge an issue like that, right? So in that case, there should be not only female judges, but there should be benches also which should have diversity. Right now, the diversity in the benches is to be questioned, not only at the level of female participation, but also the presence of say various religious groups, various caste groups, or the regions from where the judges are present. When you look at the regions from where the judges are present, you would find that most of the judges are present in a particular court, in Supreme Court, from specific regions only. So there needs to be diversity from regions, from different religion, from different castes, from different genders. All that is required, right? But right now, provision of reservation does not exist in courts, right? Yeah, all this is in regard to one important date, April 28, 2021. It was treated for the first time by United Nations as the International Day of Women Judges. International Day of Women Judges. See, when United Nations has started to accept a day like this, that means there has to be a reform at the world level, right? It is required. So few courts like the French courts have got a phenomenal number of women percentage, 70% plus. But if you look at a country like Nepal, less than 10%. If you look at places in the Middle East, less than 10%. If you look at USA, another 25-30% at max. So this is a reformation required at the whole world level, right? See, at the lower judiciary, the presence of formal qualification and examination, this is far more rational than the opaque system of judges selection at higher judiciary. And this is what leads to 25 to 30% of female selection at the lower judiciary out of their own competence, out of their own zeal they get into. But then promotions are tough because they choose at times family over the competitive field, or at times they choose they do not know why they are not promoted, right, because of opacity of the institution, right? This is where the Chief Justice has clearly said, women, you can free yourself from the shackles. Just molded the Marx statement, right, bourgeois and proletariat, and he said, women, you can free yourself from the shackles and you can have more than 50% stake in the courts, and we are with you, right? He's called them sisters. He wants them to be there, right? A significant factor for the low rates of women as district judges is the condition of minimal practice of 7 years as an advocate or a pleader. Whereas Article 233 of Constitution demands no less than 7 years of practice, the Supreme Court has interpreted this as 7 years of continuous practice, making it far more stringent for a woman to become a judge in the district courts, right? Picking up from important reports. So this is the situation. What is the requirement? See, all this are, Supreme Court Chief Justice speaking, or petitions in the High Court or the Supreme Court, petitions by lawyer having, and they are demanding that the advocates in the High Court and Supreme Court, they be converted into judges, right? Because on the basis of their expertise only, on the basis of their expertise, and not mere on the basis of reservation. So what is the solution? Is solution providing reservation, right? This is one. Or is solution providing some level of positive opportunity, right? So what is a positive opportunity? It could be empowering the females, right? How? By asking them, by making them more aware, by creating conducive circumstances in the courtrooms. So what are the way out? There are multiple ways in which it can happen, but then one must know that women must belong to the places where decisions are being made. Judiciary is one. It will make it more sensitive. It will make it empathetic and balanced, and there will be gender balancing. There should be gender diverse benches of Supreme Court, gender sensitization in administration of justice should be there, right? So this is what is the requirement. Okay, let me see what are the comments. Pooja says it's true. NJIC. Okay. I appreciate my mother. Pooja says yes. Amran says tolerance and acceptance is far more than men in general. Yeah, when it's so, then they bring a wider perspective to the law, no? Okay, you people are here then. You people understand what we are speaking of. Okay, so getting back to the feature news, United Nations General Assembly had on April 28 last year resolved to mark March 10 of every year as International Day of Women Judges. India was one of the nations that has sponsored, which was moved by Qatar. Okay, so 50% is the right, Chief Justice says. The percentage of female in the High Court judges, judiciary, as I mentioned, is dismal 11%, 10-11%. That is the percentage, right? So around 80 judges in 600 judges, and rest 400 judges position not fulfilled at all, right? Lower courts, I mentioned the percentage is around 30%. Rules for low representation, reasons for low representation, right? So 7 years of being an advocate, this is one of the reasons. So, and continuous interpretation by Supreme Court is another question, right? Not many women lawyers direct elevation from the bar to the bench and promotion of trial court judges. They are not directly elevated to higher courts. In fact, the person who was directly elevated for the first time in the Supreme Court, it was only as late as 2018, right? Rest of them promoted only. Promotion is based, I was speaking to a lawyer, promotion is based on various criteria. For example, the tenure, the service record, right? Number of conflicts and resolutions, number of cases in which appeals were not further made, right? So a lot of things were taken into account while promotion happens. These things are also taken into account when the higher judiciary is sitting in the collegium, but then that is opaque. The one which is more transparent is based on promotions. Right, so many of the judges, female judges, are only promoted. Direct elevation, only few people, right? Opaque higher judiciary, small talent pool. When the number is small, then we will have only small number of people representing in the higher levels, right? When the advocates are few, when the advocate base is only few, the number of judges being represented will be fewer only. This is the issue here, right? Hesitation in pursuing the field of law, right? So 44% of qualified candidates, Amlan, kindly note this, almost equal participation, but then they don't pursue the field of law as even to the percentage of 44, right? Also, patriarchal mindset. There are some surveys suggesting that there is some patriarchal mindset against the presence of female judges in higher judiciary. Okay. Why should be there a higher representation? Legitimacy of judiciary gets questioned when only 50% of the population is being able to make judgments. It will make it more transparent, inclusive, representative. Use those phrases that I had used, right? More inclusive, participative, right? What are the words? Gender sensitization, empathetic, because what I am using here are under court represented and said by the Chief Justice. Possibly question can get quoted in this manner, and if not question, then answer quotation can be in this particular form, right? Balanced and empathetic, gender sensitization, right? Diversification of the Supreme Court benches, enlarging scope of discussion and adjudication, quality of justice being delivered. These are the phrases that you could use. So these become many good keywords for you to use. The judgments are greatly influenced by judges' personalities. All right, so courtroom needs to expand their horizon of thinking, right? So use a couple of examples if in discussions, if people want to discuss with you why judiciary, why women need to participate. You could use the example of tying off Rakhi, or including the case where a question was asked, as simple as this. what is after rape behavior. It was not found, and this is not only one case that I'm speaking of. There are a series of such cases. I have just given one example of how the judges interpret the situation, right? All right. So this is what is required, having more female officers in judiciary when we consider female participation. Women in Indian judiciary. See, similar question you should ask when there are women in military services, administrative services. There's judiciary we are covering right now. Can you mention a few more? Corporate. So when you look at judiciary, we saw the participation is dismal, right? So 11% in higher and around 25%, 30% in lower judiciary, and around similar number in as advocates, right? When we look at this from the perspective of the civil services, where have I written that? Civil services, this is approximately 33%. Approximately 33% of people who get through the civil service examination are female. I am talking of the union civil services. When you look at the women participation in armed forces, this is again very less, hardly 2% participation as officers in army, and then maybe 6% or maybe around 10% maximum in Navy and Air Force, right? And Navy has more, Air Force has less. And what is the one represented here? So you should start questioning the female participation and its dismal state at various other levels as well. All right, good one, thank you. STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Why less? Right? Time and again it has been proved that women, given the opportunity, their success ratio is higher than men, right? So thank you for mentioning this. Okay, start looking at women participation in all the places. See, these are the themes which are picked up by UPSC. Women is a particular theme for essay writing. 50% of the population. This is how people strategize answer writing, right? The questions, even if they're not asked directly on women, they deal with women. Even if questions are not asked on economy, yet everything is about economy. So start knowing these perspectives and know the institution which is representing that point, and then you see how glamorous, how glimmering beautifully your point becomes. So women in Indian judiciary, we understood the data and statistics about women participation. We understood the reasons for their low participation, multiple reasons. We understood the way in which it can be worked out, or the solutions, right? Creation of infrastructure, having the judiciary become more transparent, right? Empowering the women, and maybe increasing or having a percentage of reservation for women. We also understood a particular number of cases where less sensitive approach was adopted while looking at the administration of justice. So this is how we complete the participation of women in Indian judiciary, an important theme. And we also understood about the global data, some global data to compare with, right? That's it. If you like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments, and shares. And if you have questions, please put them down. We will get back to you, right? And I will see you people 5:45 tomorrow evening, right? So good participation today, very good work. And anything you want to ask, please go ahead. And please look at this as well. Women participation in armed forces, in civil services, in corporates, in judiciary, in STEM courses, all of them. Extrapolate. Okay then, Ashish, Amlan, Gopal, good night to all of you. Questions, most welcome. Feel free. And now, right now the topics are fresh in your mind, so prepare them. Prepare notes on them right away. It will be very quick for you, right? See you all tomorrow 5:45. Let's save your time. And yes, one more important thing. Have you people been I had said 2 to 3 days at max. If you people have been looking at the pre-examination questions, let us discuss some aspects of it tomorrow. If you people have been looking at. Okay, Amlan says Justice Rohit Arya, Rakhi wala case. Okay, Madhya Pradesh. All right. If you people have been looking at those pre-questions, then it is time for us to segregate further what is the next level. So let's do it tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Tiyasha, Kriti, Netra, Gopal, Pooja, Hima. Good night, all of you. I'll see you tomorrow.